The vibration of my phone on the mahogany desk felt like a warning. You know that specific buzz, the one that makes your stomach drop before you even look at the screen? It was December 23rd. Outside my office window in downtown Chicago, snow was falling in those thick, cinematic flakes that usually make people think of hot cocoa and holiday cheer. But for me, the holidays had always been a performance I was auditioning for, but never quite got the role in. I picked up the phone. A text message from Mom. "Holly, honey, bad news. The Airbnb in Aspen had a plumbing issue. 2 rooms flooded. There's physically no room for you this year. We tried to find another place, but everything is booked solid or way out of budget. We're so heartbroken. Maybe we can do a late Christmas dinner in January when we get back. Love you." I stared at the screen. The blue light seemed to burn my retinas. "No room," I whispered to the empty office. My fingers hovered over the keypad. I wanted to type, "But I just sent you $25,000 last week." I wanted to type, "I checked the weather in Aspen. There are no storms causing pipe bursts." Instead, I typed what I always typed, the response of the dutiful daughter, the peacekeeper, the one who didn't want to cause a scene. "Okay, Mom, I understand. Have a safe trip. Give my love to everyone." I set the phone down, face down, as if that could hide the rejection. I swiveled my chair around to look at the city skyline. I am 36 years old. I am the chief financial officer of a mid-sized luxury real estate firm. I manage portfolios worth millions. I negotiate with sharks and come out with my teeth intact. Yet, one text from Linda, my mother, reduced me to a shivering little girl waiting to be picked for the kickball team. It wasn't just about the trip. It was about the timing. Just 10 days ago, my mother had called me, her voice trembling, claiming she needed an emergency procedure for a heart condition she'd been vague about. She said insurance wouldn't cover the specialist. She needed $25,000 up front. I didn't hesitate. I drained my savings for a down payment on a condo I'd been eyeing for 3 years. I wired the money within the hour. And now, there was no room for me. I tried to focus on the quarterly reports on my screen, but the silence of the office was deafening. Most of my staff had already left for the holidays. I was the one staying late, wrapping up loose ends, ensuring everyone else got their bonuses on time. An hour passed. My phone buzzed again. A notification from Facebook. Linda Miller added 5 new photos. Curiosity is a dangerous thing. It's like picking at a scab. You know it's going to bleed, but you do it anyway. I opened the app. The first photo hit me like a physical blow to the chest. It was a selfie taken in what was clearly the first-class lounge at O'Hare International Airport. My mother, holding a mimosa, smiling that wide, bright smile that fooled all her church friends. Next to her was my father, Robert, looking distinguished in a new cashmere sweater. Then my brother Kyle, the golden boy, the 40-year-old entrepreneur who hadn't held a steady job since 2015. His wife, Jessica, was pouting playfully at the camera. Even their sullen teenager, Mason, was there. But it was the bottom corner of the photo that made my breath hitch. There, peeking out of a designer travel carrier, was Buster, the family's golden retriever. I zoomed in. My hands were shaking. They had brought the dog. They had claimed there was no room for me, their daughter, the one who paid the mortgage when Dad's pension check was late, the one who covered Kyle's unexpected car repairs. But there was room for a 70-pound dog in a first-class cabin. I scrolled to the next photo, a group shot by the fireplace in the lounge. The caption read, "Our perfect pack for New Year's. Finally, a stress-free getaway with the people who matter most. Hashtag blessed, hashtag family first, hashtag Aspenbound." The people who matter most. The phrase echoed in my head, bouncing off the walls of my expensive, lonely office. I wasn't in the pack. I wasn't just excluded. I was erased. I looked at the date stamp, posted 10 minutes ago. I felt a tear slide down my cheek, hot and humiliating. I wiped it away furiously. I wasn't going to cry over this. I was 36, for God's sake. But the pain wasn't just about this one trip. It was the accumulation of 1,000 tiny cuts. It was the years of being the backup plan. It was the realization that my role in this family was not daughter. My role was ATM. I sat there, the glow of the monitor illuminating the mascara smudged under my eyes. I felt small. I felt used. I felt incredibly stupid. But then I noticed something else in the background of the third photo. It was a boarding pass sticking out of Kyle's jacket pocket. I zoomed in until the pixels blurred. I could just make out the airline logo and the flight number. First class. Full fare. I did the mental math instantly. It's an occupational hazard. 5 first-class tickets to Aspen during peak holiday season, plus the pet fee, plus the last-minute booking premiums, that was easily $20,000 right there. The money I sent for the heart surgery. A coldness started to spread through my chest. It wasn't the numbness of grief anymore. It was something sharper, something harder. Before I go any further, I want to say thank you for being here and listening to my story. I know it's not easy to hear about family betrayal, but I appreciate you giving me your time. Please comment down below and let me know what city you're watching from. It helps me feel a little less alone in all this to know where you are. To understand why that photo broke something inside me, you have to understand the history. This wasn't a one-time oversight. This was a pattern, woven into the fabric of my life since I was 16 years old. I remember the first time clearly. It was the summer of my sophomore year. My parents announced a trip to Disneyland. I was ecstatic. I had been saving my babysitting money for mouse ears and churros. 2 days before the trip, my dad sat me down at the kitchen table. "Holly," he said, using his serious voice, the one he used when he was about to disappoint me but make it sound like it was for my own good. "We've been looking at the budget. With Kyle's college tuition going up, we're a little tight. We can't afford a ticket for everyone." Kyle was 20 then. He had failed 2 classes and was on academic probation. I was a straight-A student. "So," Dad continued, "we thought it would be a good opportunity for you to learn some responsibility. Aunt May needs someone to watch her cats while she's in the hospital. You'll stay here." They went to Disneyland. I spent a week scooping litter boxes for a senile aunt who called me Helen. When they came back, Kyle had a new limited edition jacket. Mom brought me a keychain. "It's the thought that counts," she said. That became the refrain of my life. When I graduated college, cum laude, while working 2 jobs, they didn't come to the ceremony. "It's a long drive, Holly," Mom had said, "and Kyle is having a rough time with his breakup. We need to be there for him." They sent a card with a $50 check inside. When Kyle turned 30, they threw him a surprise party at a country club that cost more than my car. I was allowed to come, but I was asked to arrive early to help set up and stay late to clean up. I spent the evening refilling champagne glasses for people who didn't know my name. 14 years. 14 years of missed family vacations. They went to Hawaii when I was 25. No extra bed in the condo. They went to a Caribbean cruise when I was 28. It's a couples retreat thing. You'd be bored. They went to Italy for their anniversary. You're so busy with work, we didn't want to disturb you. Each time, I swallowed the hurt. I told myself it was normal. I told myself that once I was successful, once I made enough money, I could buy my way into their circle. I thought if I became indispensable, they would have to love me. So I became the provider. When Dad's car transmission blew, I paid for it. When Mom wanted to redo the kitchen, I loaned them $5,000 that I never saw again. When Kyle needed bail money after a bar fight, God, I still cringe thinking about that. I was the one who drove down to the station at 3 a.m. with a cashier's check. I bought their love in installments, but the interest rate was killing me. I looked around my office. It was a symbol of my success. I had clawed my way up from a junior analyst to CFO in under a decade. I drove a reliable car, I had a 401k, I had excellent credit. I was the responsible one, the good one. And yet, in the narrative of the Miller family, I was merely a footnote, a resource. I thought about the last conversation I had with my therapist, Dr. Evans. She had asked me, "Holly, why do you keep handing them the knife they used to cut you?" "Because they're family," I had replied. "You don't give up on family." "But have they given up on you?" she asked gently. I hadn't answered her then. But looking at that photo of the dog that had a seat on a plane while I sat in an empty office tower, I knew the answer. It wasn't just exclusion. It was exploitation. They didn't just leave me behind. They used my resources to fuel their joy while leaving me to foot the bill. I was the engine of their lifestyle, hidden under the hood, unseen and unappreciated, while they polished the chrome and waved to the crowd. I remembered the surgery money, $25,000. That was supposed to be for a minimally invasive valve repair. Mom had cried on the phone, "I'm scared, Holly. I don't want to die." I had felt a surge of terror. I mobilized everything. I felt like a hero saving my mother. I looked at the photo again. She was holding a mimosa. Alcohol? Before heart surgery? The pieces started to click together, sharp and jagged. The urgency, the demand for a wire transfer instead of a check to the hospital, the refusal to let me speak to the doctor because of HIPAA laws. I wasn't just a victim of neglect. I was a victim of fraud. And the perpetrators were the people who were supposed to protect me. My hands were trembling, not from sadness anymore, but from a surge of adrenaline. The CFO brain, the part of me that hunts down discrepancies in spreadsheets and finds missing assets, kicked into gear. I closed the Facebook tab. I needed hard data. I opened my banking app on my phone. I navigated to the transaction history. December 14th. Outgoing wire transfer, $25,000. Linda Miller personal checking. I had asked to send it to the hospital directly. She had insisted that she needed to pay the specialist in cash to get the discount rate. It sounded ridiculous now, echoing in the silence of my office. But in the moment, blinded by the fear of losing my mother, I had suspended my disbelief. I logged into my mother's email account. I knew her password. It was KyleIsBest1984. She had asked me to set up her iPad years ago and never changed it. I had never snooped before. I respected boundaries, even if they didn't respect mine. But today, the boundaries were gone. I scrolled through her inbox. Amazon, Pottery Barn, Pinterest notifications. And there it was. Confirmation. Aspen Luxury Resort and Spa. Date, December 15th. The day after I wired the money, $12,400 deposit. I clicked on it. It wasn't just a hotel room. It was a suite, the presidential chalet package. I kept scrolling. United Airlines, receipt for 5 passengers plus 1 pet in cabin. Total, $8,600. I did the math on a sticky note. 12,400 plus 8,600 equals 21,000. The remaining $4,000? I found that too. A receipt from Gucci Miracle Mile, a new handbag, probably the one sitting on the floor in the Facebook photo. I felt like I was going to throw up. There was no doctor. There was no heart condition. My mother had invented a life-threatening illness to swindle me out of my down payment money so she could take my brother skiing in luxury. I needed one final confirmation. I needed to hear it. I picked up my office phone and dialed Dr. Henderson's office. He had been our family GP for 20 years. I knew he wasn't a cardiologist, but if Mom had a heart condition, he would know who referred her. Dr. Henderson's office, this is Sarah, the receptionist chirped. Hi, Sarah, this is Holly Miller, Linda Miller's daughter. Oh, hi, Holly, how are you? I'm worried. Mom mentioned something about a heart procedure she needed. I wanted to make sure Dr. Henderson got the updates from the specialist. Silence on the other end. A heart procedure? I'm looking at her chart right now, Holly. She was just here last week for her annual physical. Her blood pressure is a little high, probably from all the salt, but her heart is fine. EKG was normal. Are you sure? My voice was barely a whisper. She said she needed urgent valve repair. Holly, I can't give out too many details, but no, there's nothing like that in her file. In fact, she spent most of the appointment asking the doctor for a prescription for altitude sickness medication because she was going to the mountains. Altitude sickness? I repeated. Yes, for her ski trip. She was very excited, said the whole family was going. Right, the whole family. Is everything okay, Holly? Yes, Sarah, everything is clarifying. Thank you. I hung up. The silence that followed was heavy, pressing down on my shoulders. It wasn't just a lie. It was a theatrical, elaborate production designed to exploit my deepest fear, the fear of being an orphan. They knew I would pay anything to save them. They weaponized my love. I stood up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. The city lights of Chicago blurred through the snow. I looked at my reflection in the glass. I saw a woman in a tailored suit, a woman who commanded respect in boardrooms, a woman who managed millions. And I saw a fool. But as I stared at my own eyes, something shifted. The sadness began to calcify. It hardened into something cold and sharp, like a diamond. I wasn't a daughter anymore. I was a creditor, and they were bad debt. I sat back down. I didn't cry. I opened a new folder on my desktop. I named it Receipts_Final. I started dragging files into it. The wire transfer confirmation, the airline receipts from Mom's email, the hotel booking. The credit card statements I had access to because I was a co-signer on Dad's emergency card, which I now saw had a charge for Aspen ski rental pending. This wasn't a family dispute anymore. This was a forensic accounting investigation, and nobody hides assets from me. I looked at the clock. It was 6 p.m. They would be landing in Denver soon, taking the shuttle to Aspen. They were probably laughing, drinking champagne, petting the dog, thinking they had pulled off the perfect heist. They thought Holly would just sit at home, sad and quiet, sending okay texts. They had no idea who they were dealing with. They thought they were dealing with Holly the doormat. They were about to meet Holly the CFO. My phone rang again. It was Kyle. Normally, I would have hesitated. I would have prepared my happy voice, the one that pretended I wasn't hurt. But tonight, I just pressed answer and put it on speaker. I needed to record this. I opened the voice memo app on my work phone and hit record. Hey, little sis. Kyle's voice was loud, booming, slightly slurred. The background noise was a cacophony of laughter and clinking glasses. They were probably in the limo or the shuttle. Hi, Kyle, I said, my voice deadpan. Listen, we just landed. It is snowy as hell here, man. Totally epic. Hey, I needed a favor. Of course. What is it? So, in the rush to pack, you know how Mom gets frantic. I think I left the back door unlocked at my place. And the cats, well, the automatic feeder is finicky. Can you swing by my place, check the door, and maybe just stay there for a few days to keep an eye on things? The heater is acting up too. Wouldn't want the pipes to burst. I closed my eyes. He lived 45 minutes away from me, in the opposite direction of my office. He wanted me to be his house sitter on Christmas. You want me to stay at your house alone? Well, yeah, it's better than you being alone in your apartment, right? At least I have the big TV. Plus, Mom feels super bad about the whole no room thing. She said you were really busy with work anyway, so maybe it worked out for the best, saving you the travel stress, right? Mom said I was busy? Yeah, said you had some big merger or something. She told Dad, Holly is married to her job. She probably wouldn't have come anyway. Gaslighting. Pure, unadulterated gaslighting. She took my money, told me there was no room, and then told everyone else I was too busy to come. She made me the villain of my own exclusion. I see, I said. And how is Buster? Oh, the dog? He's living the life, man. Had his own seat, ate a steak provided by the flight attendant. Can you believe it? Mom said, only the best for my baby boy. Only the best for my baby boy. Something inside me snapped. It wasn't a loud snap. It was the sound of a heavy cable finally giving way under too much tension. It was a silent, catastrophic structural failure of my emotional attachment to these people. I looked at the framed photo on my desk. It was me and Kyle as kids. I was looking at him with adoration. He was looking at the camera. I reached out and placed the photo face down. Kyle, I said, my voice terrifyingly calm, I won't be checking your door. What? Come on, Hall, don't be a bitch. It's Christmas. I'm not checking your door. I'm not feeding your cats, and I'm certainly not fixing your heater. You have a house sitter. You just didn't want to pay one. Whoa, okay, someone's bitter. Look, Mom wants to say hi. No. No? I'm busy, Kyle, like Mom said, married to my job. I hung up. I stared at the phone. My heart was pounding, not with fear, but with a strange, exhilarating power. I had said no. For the first time in my life, I had genuinely, forcefully said no. But no wasn't enough. Not after $25,000. Not after 15 years of being treated like a second-class citizen. Not after the dog got a steak while I got a lie. I needed to act, but I couldn't do it alone. I needed an ally, someone who knew what it was like to be on the outside of the Miller family circus. I thought of Uncle Ben, my father's younger brother, the black sheep. The family didn't talk to him much. They called him eccentric and unstable because he refused to get a corporate job and spent his life restoring old motorcycles and investing in weird tech startups. They mocked his flannel shirts and his small house in the suburbs. I hadn't seen him in 2 years, not since Grandma's funeral, where he sat in the back row while Dad gave a eulogy that was mostly about himself. But Ben had always been kind to me. He sent me real birthday cards, handwritten, not generic ones signed by Mom. I grabbed my coat, I grabbed my laptop, I grabbed the folder of receipts, printed out now a thick stack of betrayal. I walked out of my office, leaving the lights on. I didn't care. The drive to the suburbs was a blur of snow and red taillights. My mind was racing, formulating a plan, calculating risks, assessing assets. I wasn't crying anymore. I was strategizing. When I pulled up to Uncle Ben's house, it was modest, but glowing with warm yellow light. A real wreath hung on the door, not a plastic one. I knocked. Uncle Ben answered. He looked older, his beard grayer, but his eyes were the same kind, intelligent blue. He was wearing a grease-stained t-shirt and holding a spatula. Holly? He looked shocked. What? Is everything okay? I stood there on his porch, snow melting in my hair, clutching my folder of evidence like a shield. They went to Aspen, Ben, I said, my voice cracking just a little. They took my surgery money, and they went to Aspen with the dog. Ben's face changed. The confusion vanished, replaced by a look of dark recognition. He opened the door wide. Come in, kid, he said gently. Aunt Sarah is making lasagna. Put your coat down. Tell me everything. As I stepped across the threshold, I felt the first real warmth I'd felt all December. I wasn't walking into a house. I was walking into a war room, and I had just found my general. Uncle Ben's kitchen smelled like garlic, roasted tomatoes, and safety. Aunt Sarah, a woman with laugh lines etched deep around her eyes and a hug that could realignment your spine, wrapped me in her arms the moment I walked in. She didn't ask why I was there. She just set a plate of lasagna in front of me and poured a glass of red wine. I ate. I hadn't realized I was starving. Between bites, I laid it all out. I opened the folder. I showed them the wire transfer, the flight receipts, the heart surgery lie, the text about the no room. Ben sat opposite me, flipping through the papers. His expression grew darker with every page. He didn't interrupt. He just read. When he finished, he took off his reading glasses and rubbed the bridge of his nose. "Classic Robert," he muttered. "And classic Linda. They haven't changed a bit. They've just gotten bolder." "I feel so stupid," I admitted, swirling the wine in my glass. "I'm a CFO, Ben. I manage risk for a living, and I let them rob me blind." "You're not stupid, Holly," Sarah said fiercely. "You're a daughter who loves her parents. That's not a weakness. Their exploitation of that love is their sin, not yours." "But $25,000? I put my head in my hands. That was my condo, my independence. Ben leaned forward. "You know why they hate me, Holly?" I looked up. "Because you didn't become a lawyer like Dad?" Ben chuckled. It was a dry, rasping sound. "No, they hate me because I stopped bailing them out in 1998. Your father has been financially insolvent for years. He lives on credit and appearances. He borrows from Peter to pay Paul, and you've been Peter for a long time." "I thought they were wealthy," I whispered. "The country club, the cars." "Least," Ben said. "All of it. They're drowning, Holly, and they used you as a life raft, again." He stood up and walked to a small desk in the corner of the living room. He pulled out a laptop, not an old clunker, but a brand new high-end machine. "I've had a good year, Holly," Ben said, a mischievous glint in his eye. "Remember those weird tech startups your dad made fun of? 2 of them went public this month. And my crypto portfolio? Well, let's just say I don't need to fix motorcycles anymore. I do it because I like it." He turned the screen around. It showed a bank balance that made my CFO eyes widen. It was more zeros than I had seen in my father's accounts ever. "I was planning to take Sarah and Mia to Switzerland next week," Ben said. "But I think Aspen sounds better this time of year, don't you?" I looked at him confused. "You want to go to Aspen? To chase them?" "Not chase," Ben corrected. "Overshadow." He started typing furiously. "Where are they staying? The Aspen Luxury Resort?" "Yes," I said. "Room 402 and 404. "Pedestrian," scoffed. "Crowded, noisy." He pulled up a real estate rental site. "Look at this." He pointed to a listing. The Summit Villa. It was a glass and steel mansion perched on the ridge directly overlooking the Aspen Luxury Resort. It had 6 bedrooms, a heated infinity pool, a private chef, and a view that cost more than my annual salary. "It's available," Ben said. "Last-minute cancellation. $15,000 a night." "Ben, that's insane," I said. "It's not insane. It's justice." He looked at me. "Holly, you have $25,000 of skin in this game. You've been the victim. It's time you become the boss. We're going to book this. We're going to fly there tomorrow morning, and we're going to show them what actual wealth and class look like. No screaming matches. We're just going to exist, loudly and brilliantly, right above their heads." "And the money?" I asked. "The $25,000 they stole?" "Oh, we'll get that back," Ben said, his voice dropping to a low growl. "I know a lawyer, a shark. We're going to serve them with papers right there on the slopes. But first, we need to get you an outfit. He looked at Sarah. Honey, pack the bags. We're going skiing. For the first time all day, I smiled. It wasn't a polite smile, it was a dangerous smile. I have a lawyer too, I said, thinking of Davis, our corporate counsel who owed me a favor. I can draft a demand letter tonight. Good, Ben said. Do it. And Holly? Yeah? Stop crying over people who wouldn't shed a tear for you unless they lost their wallet. I wiped my face. The tears were gone. Done. The next 12 hours were a blur of calculated efficiency. I didn't sleep. I sat at Ben's kitchen table, fueled by espresso and rage, drafting documents. I typed up a formal demand for repayment. I classified the $25,000 not as a gift, but as a short-term medical loan based on the text messages where Mom promised to pay me back as soon as the insurance check clears. Another lie, but legally binding in intent. I attached the receipts showing the funds were misappropriated for travel. I emailed it to Davis, my corporate shark. He replied at 4 a.m., "This is brutal, Holly. I love it. I'll have it notarized and ready for process service in Colorado by noon." At 8 a.m., we didn't head to O'Hare Commercial Terminal. Ben drove us to the private airfield. "A friend owes me a favor," Ben winked as we pulled up to a sleek Gulfstream G650. Mia, my 20-year-old cousin, was bouncing with excitement. She was a marketing major at NYU, brilliant with social media, and she despised my brother Kyle. "Wait until TikTok sees this," she grinned, holding up her phone. Operation Humble the Haters is a go. But before we boarded, Ben stopped at a high-end boutique in the terminal. "You look like a corporate drone," he told me bluntly. "If we're going to do this, you need to look like the owner of the company." He handed me a credit card. "Buy everything. Cashmere, fur, designer shades. The bigger, the better." I hesitated. "I can pay for myself, Ben." "This is an investment," he insisted. "Buy it." I walked out 20 minutes later wearing a white cashmere coat that cost as much as a Honda Civic, oversized Chanel sunglasses, and boots that made me feel 6 inches taller. I looked in the mirror. The sad, tired Holly was gone. Staring back was a woman who looked like she owned the mountain. We boarded the jet. The interior was cream leather and gold. A flight attendant handed me a glass of Dom Perignon. "To family," Ben toasted, raising his glass. "To the receipts," I replied, clinking my glass against his. As the plane taxied, I pulled out my phone. It was time to fire the first shot. I took a photo, just my hand holding the crystal champagne flute, the snowy runway blurring outside the oval window, and the sleeve of my new white cashmere coat. I posted it to Facebook and Instagram. I didn't tag anyone. I just wrote, "Sometimes you have to cut out the tumors to save the heart. Self-care mode activated. Next stop, altitude." I turned off my phone. The flight was smooth. We landed in Aspen Private Airport, bypassing the chaos of the commercial terminal where my parents had likely struggled with baggage claim just hours before. A black SUV was waiting on the tarmac. The drive to the Summit Villa was breathtaking. We wound up the mountain, passing the entrance to the Aspen Luxury Resort, where my parents were staying. It looked nice, sure, but we kept going up. When we pulled into the driveway of the villa, my jaw dropped. It was a fortress of glass and stone. An infinity pool steamed in the cold air. Marco, the private chef, was waiting at the door with hot towels. "Welcome, Miss Miller," he said to me. Ben had put the booking in my name. "Thank you, Marco," I said, stepping inside. The living room had a 30-foot ceiling and a fireplace big enough to roast an ox. But the real showstopper was the view. Through the massive windows, I could look directly down onto the balconies of the resort below. I walked to the telescope set up by the window. I peered through it. I adjusted the focus. I scanned the balconies of the hotel below. And there, on a cramped balcony of the Aspen luxury resort, I saw them. My dad was smoking a cigar, looking stressed. Mom was wrapped in a hotel bathrobe, arguing with Kyle. Jessica was looking at her phone, looking miserable. They looked small, petty. I stepped back from the telescope. I turned to Mia. "Mia," I said, "are you ready to make some content?" Mia grinned, her ring light already set up. "Born ready, cuz." I took a deep breath of the pine-scented air. The game was on. By the time I turned my phone back on, the internet had done its thing. My post had exploded. Friends, colleagues, and extended family were liking and commenting. "You go, girl. Deserved. Is that a private jet?" But the notifications I was looking for were the angry ones. And oh, they were there. 5 missed calls from Mom, 3 from Dad, 10 text messages from Kyle. I opened Kyle's texts first. "What the hell is that photo? Where are you? Mom is crying. She thinks you're spending your savings recklessly. Are you in Aspen? Someone said they saw a tag." I didn't reply. Silence is a power move. Mia came bounding into the living room. "Okay, Holly, I just posted the first TikTok. Don't freak out." She handed me her phone. The video was titled, "When Your Toxic Fam Leaves You Behind, So You Upgrade." It started with a quick screenshot of the "No room for you" text, names redacted but context clear. Then it cut to a clip of me stepping off the private jet, hair blowing in the wind, looking like a movie star. Then a pan of the villa, the chef prepping Wagyu beef, and finally me sipping wine by the infinity pool with the caption, "Thanks for the motivation." It had 50,000 views in 20 minutes. "Mia," I gasped, "they're going to see this." "That's the point," she shrugged. "The algorithm knows they're in Aspen. It'll feed it to them, or to Mason. Mason is always on TikTok." As if summoned, my phone rang. It was Mason, my 15-year-old nephew. I answered. "Aunt Holly?" His voice was a whisper. "Hey, Mace. Are you here in Aspen?" "I am." "Are you at that house on the hill, the one with the glass walls?" I walked to the window. I could see the hotel below. "Look up, Mason. Wave." I saw a tiny figure on the hotel balcony step out and wave frantically. "Oh my God," he whispered. "Grandma is losing her mind. She saw the Facebook post. She thinks you won the lottery." "Not the lottery, Mason. Just hard work and good friends." "Can I come over?" he asked, his voice cracking. "It sucks here. Mom and Dad are fighting because Dad's credit card got declined at the ski rental. Grandma is complaining that the room smells like wet dog because Buster peed on the carpet." I felt a twinge of pity for the kid. He was innocent in this. But he was also a spy. "Not right now, Mason. I have some business to handle, but keep watching TikTok." "Okay, cool. You look awesome, by the way, like a villain in a movie." "Sometimes you have to be the villain to get the happy ending," I said. I hung up. Dinner that night was surreal. Marco served us a 5-course meal. We laughed, we drank vintage Bordeaux. Uncle Ben told stories about Dad when they were kids, stories I'd never heard, about how Dad used to cheat at Monopoly and cry when he lost. "He never learned," Ben said, swirling his wine. "He thinks the world owes him a boardwalk hotel." "Well," I said, cutting into my steak, "he's about to find out he's bankrupt." My phone buzzed again, a voicemail from Mom. I played it for the table. "Holly, pick up the phone." "This is ridiculous. We know you're here. Mason said he saw you. How dare you come to our vacation spot and not say hello? And where did you get that money? Did you steal from the company? I'm worried about you, sweetie. You're having a breakdown. Come to our hotel immediately so we can help you. We have leftover pizza." "Leftover pizza?" "The audacity," Aunt Sarah murmured. "She steals your money and offers you crusts?" "She's scared," Ben analyzed. "She sees money she can't control. And she's projecting. Did you steal from the company? That's what she would do. I'm not going down there, I said firmly. No, Ben smiled. You're not. They're going to come to us. Wealth has a gravity, Holly. It pulls the parasites in. He was right. But before they arrived, I had one more bomb to drop. I opened my email, I attached the demand letter and the receipts. I sent it to my mother, my father, and Kyle. Subject: repayment of unauthorized loan due immediately. I hit send. Bon appetit, I said. The next morning, the contrast between our two worlds couldn't have been starker. I woke up in a bed with sheets that felt like woven clouds. I pressed a button, and the automated blinds rose to reveal a panoramic view of the snow-capped Rockies, bathed in pink morning light. Marco had prepared an espresso and a bowl of fresh berries waiting on the nightstand. Down below, at the Aspen luxury resort, chaos was unfolding. How did I know? Because Mason was texting me live updates. Dad is screaming at the front desk. They locked us out of the room 'cause the card declined for the incidentals. Grandma is crying saying you hacked her bank account. Buster threw up in the lobby. I felt a cold satisfaction. It wasn't joy exactly. It was the feeling of balance being restored. Karma wasn't a mystical force. It was cause and effect. We decided to go skiing. Ben had rented the best gear money could buy. We had a private instructor. We bypassed the long lift lines with VIP passes. As we glided down the mountain, I saw them. It's hard to miss my mother's neon pink ski suit. They were arguing near the bunny slope. Kyle was throwing his poles into the snow. Dad was red-faced, yelling at a lift operator. I skied past them, carving a perfect line in the powder. I was wearing all white, blending into the mountain, invisible yet omnipresent. I stopped about 50 yards down and watched. Kyle saw me. He squinted, then his eyes went wide. He pointed. "Holly!" he screamed. His voice carried over the snow. I didn't wave. I just adjusted my goggles and pushed off, speeding down the slope, leaving a cloud of powder in my wake. I felt free. For the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for them. I was leaving them behind. When we got back to the villa, Mia showed me the latest metrics. Her video had hit 2 million views. The comments were starting to turn into a mob. People were analyzing the background of my mom's photos, finding the inconsistencies. The internet sleuths were figuring it out. But then the mood shifted. I received a notification from my work email. Subject: urgent, HR inquiry regarding ethics violation. My heart stopped. I opened it. It was from the head of HR at my company. Miss Miller, we received a disturbing email this morning regarding potential embezzlement and elder abuse. Given the seriousness of these claims and the attached photos of your mother in distress, we need to schedule a call with Mr. Sterling immediately. My blood ran cold. What is it? Sarah asked, seeing my face pale. Jessica, I whispered. My sister-in-law. She emailed my boss. She accused me of embezzlement. I felt the panic rising. This was my career, my reputation. Jessica knew exactly where to hit. She knew I prided myself on my integrity. Let me see, Ben said, his voice calm. I handed him the phone. He read the email. Then he started laughing. Why are you laughing? I cried. I could lose my license. I could go to jail. Holly, Ben said, handing the phone back. Look at who was CC'd on the email. I looked. Sterling, Arthur, CEO. So? Arthur Sterling, Ben said, a grin spreading across his face, or as I call him, Artie. You know my CEO? Know him? Holly, I beat him at poker every Thursday night. He's staying in the chalet next to us. He's the one who got us the jet. I stared at him. The world tilted on its axis. Wait, I stammered. You mean... I mean, Ben said, pulling out his own phone, I'm going to call Artie, and we're going to invite him over for a drink. I think he'd love to see the evidence of your embezzlement. The fear evaporated, replaced by a surge of adrenaline so strong it made my hands shake. This wasn't just a defense. This was a trap, and Jessica had just walked right into it. While Ben called Mr. Sterling, the harassment from my family escalated from digital to physical. The intercom at the villa's front gate buzzed. Marco walked over to the panel. "Ms. Miller, there is a group at the gate. They say they are your family. They are quite agitated." I looked at the monitor. It was the whole clan. Dad, Mom, Kyle, Jessica, even Buster was there, barking at the intercom. Mason was hanging back, looking embarrassed. "Let me talk to them," I said. I pressed the button. "What do you want?" "Holly," my father's voice crackled through the speaker. "Open this gate right now!" "Do you have any idea how embarrassed we are? The hotel is threatening to evict us." "That sounds like a you problem, Dad," I said. "Don't you take that tone with me. We know you have money. You stole it. You stole my retirement." He didn't have a retirement fund, but facts never stopped him. "I didn't steal anything," I said calmly. "I just stopped giving you mine." "Holly, please," Mom's voice chimed in, switching to her martyr tone. "We're hungry, we're cold, Buster needs water, we're family. Just let us in. We can talk about this. We can stay in the guest rooms. There's plenty of space." There it was, the end game. They wanted to move in. They wanted to upgrade their vacation on my dime. "There is no room for you," I said, echoing her text message. The pipes burst. "It's tragic." "You little bitch," Kyle screamed. "I know you're in there. I'm going to climb this fence." "If you climb the fence, Kyle, I'll call the police for trespassing. And since you have that warrant for unpaid parking tickets in Chicago, I don't think you want to talk to the cops." Silence. I had checked his public record the night before. "We're not leaving," Jessica yelled. "I sent an email to your boss, Holly. You're going to be fired. You'll be nothing." Actually, a deep voice boomed behind me. I turned. Standing in the living room entrance was Arthur Sterling, my CEO. He was wearing a ski sweater and holding a scotch. He looked amused. "Ben," Sterling said, "is that the sister-in-law?" "That's her," Ben nodded. Sterling walked to the intercom. He pressed the button. "Ms. Jessica Miller?" Sterling asked. "Who is this?" Jessica snapped. "This is Arthur Sterling, CEO of Sterling Real Estate. I received your email." Dead silence at the gate. You could hear the wind whistling through the pines. "Oh," Jessica stammered. "Mr. Sterling, thank goodness. You need to know Holly is one of my best executives," Sterling cut her off. "And you, madam, have just admitted to filing a false report and attempted defamation. I have my legal team looking at the email right now. If you contact me or my employee again, I will have you sued for harassment so fast your head will spin." "But goodbye," Sterling said. He released the button. He turned to me and raised his glass. "She seems pleasant." I slumped against the counter, letting out a breath I didn't know I was holding. "Thank you, Mr. Sterling." "Call me Artie," he smiled, "and don't thank me. Ben showed me the receipts. What they did with the surgery money, that's disgusting. I have zero tolerance for liars." "They're not going to leave," I said, looking at the monitor. They were huddled together, arguing. "They have nowhere to go. They're broke." "Then let's finish this," Ben said. "Invite them in." "What?" I looked at him like he was crazy. "Invite them in," Ben repeated. "Let's have a family meeting. I think it's time we discussed the finances. All of them." He tapped his laptop. "I have something to show Robert." I realized then that Ben wasn't just here for moral support. He had his own receipts. He had been waiting decades for this moment. "Okay," I said, pressing the intercom button again. "Gates opening. Come to the front door. We need to talk." They walked into the villa like they were conquering heroes, not refugees. Mom immediately started touching things. "Oh, look at this marble. Robert, look at this view. Why didn't we book this place?" "Because it costs 15 grand a night, Linda," I said, standing by the fireplace. They froze. They saw me. Then they saw Uncle Ben. "Benjamin?" Dad sneered. "What are you doing here? Did you fix the boiler?" "I'm renting the place, Bob," Ben said, not rising from his leather armchair. "You?" Dad laughed. "With what money? Did you sell a kidney?" "Something like that," Ben smiled. Then they saw Mr. Sterling. Jessica gasped. She recognized him from the company website. Her face went pale as a sheet. "Sit down," I commanded. It was the first time I had ever given an order to my parents. Surprisingly, they sat. They took the long leather sofa. Me, Ben, and Sterling stood facing them. It felt like a tribunal. "So," Kyle started, trying to regain bravado. "Nice place. A bit sterile for my taste, but—" "Shut up, Kyle," I said. "Excuse me?" I said, "Shut up. We're here to talk about the $25,000. Mom burst into tears. Immediate, practiced tears. "Oh, Holly, I intended to pay you back, but the stress, the heart palpitations, I needed a getaway. The doctor said fresh air would be good for me." "I spoke to Dr. Henderson," I said. "He said you asked for altitude sickness pills." Mom stopped crying instantly. She glared at me. "You violated my privacy. You violated my trust. You committed fraud." "It's family money," Dad shouted. "It all goes to the same pot. Who cares who spent it? We raised you. We paid for your braces. We put a roof over your head." "And I have paid you back tenfold," I said. "But that ends today. I want my money back now." "We don't have it," Jessica spat. "You know we don't. That's why we're here. The hotel locked us out. We need you to pay the bill so we can get our luggage." "No," I said. "No?" Dad stood up, his face reddening. "You listen to me, young lady. You will write a check, you will apologize to your brother for embarrassing him, and you will—" "Or what?" Ben interrupted. "Or she's out of the will," Dad roared. "Disowned. Cut off." I laughed. A dry, hollow laugh. "The will? Dad, what will? You have nothing to leave. You have debt. That's it." "I have assets," Dad blustered. "The house, the investments." "Actually," Ben said, opening his laptop, "let's talk about the house." He projected his screen onto the massive TV above the fireplace. It was a document, a mortgage deed. "Robert," Ben said, "you took out a second mortgage on the house 3 years ago to fund Kyle's crypto venture, which, as we know, went to zero." Kyle looked down at his boots. "Then," Ben continued, clicking to the next slide, "you defaulted on that loan 6 months ago. The bank sold the debt." "So what?" Dad said, sweating now. "I'm negotiating with the bank." "No, you're not," Ben said. "Because the bank sold the debt to a private holding company, Blue Sky Ventures, LLC. "Who is Blue Sky Ventures?" Mom asked, trembling. "I am," Ben said. The silence in the room was absolute. Even Buster stopped panting. You own my house?" Dad whispered. "I do," Ben said. "And since you haven't made a payment in 6 months, and since you just spent $25,000 on a vacation instead of your mortgage, I'm initiating foreclosure proceedings, effective immediately." "You can't do that!" Kyle screamed. "Your family." "Family?" Ben stood up. "You treated Holly like a servant for 15 years. You treated me like a failure for 40. You don't get to play the family card when the deck is stacked against you." "Ben, please," Mom sobbed, real tears this time. "Where will we live?" "I don't know," Ben said. "Maybe you can stay in the Airbnb that flooded. Oh, wait, that was a lie, too." This was the moment. The snap had happened for me earlier, but this was the crush for them. The reality of their financial house of cards was falling down around them. But Jessica wasn't done. She looked at Sterling. "Mr. Sterling," she pleaded, "you see what kind of people they are? Cruel, vindictive. Surely you don't want a CFO who treats her parents like this?" Sterling took a sip of his scotch. He stepped forward. "Miss Miller," he said to Jessica, "I built my company on transparency. Holly is the most transparent person I know. You, however, sent me an email accusing her of theft using falsified medical claims. My legal team tells me that constitutes libel per se." He pulled a paper from his jacket pocket. "This is a cease and desist and a notice of intent to sue for damages to my employee's reputation. If you don't publicly retract your statements and apologize to Holly, I will tie you up in court until you're selling that fake Gucci bag to pay for a public defender." Jessica slumped back onto the sofa, defeated. I looked at them. My father, broken. My mother, sobbing. My brother, furious but impotent. My sister-in-law, terrified. "I want my $25,000, I said quietly, "or Ben takes the house tomorrow." "We spent it," Kyle whined. "It's gone." "Then sell the car," I said. "Sell the jewelry. I don't care. Figure it out." I pointed to the door. "Get out of my villa." They left. It was a shuffle of shame. No shouting, no threats, just the sound of boots on marble and the closing of the heavy oak door. As soon as they were gone, the adrenaline crashed. I sank onto the sofa. "You okay, kid?" Ben asked, putting a hand on my shoulder. "I feel exhausted," I said, "but lighter." "You did good," Sterling said. "That was cinematic." "I can't believe you own their mortgage," I said to Ben. "When did you do that?" 6 months ago, Ben admitted. "I saw it come up on a distressed asset list. I bought it to protect them originally. I was going to let them live there rent-free if they just treated you decent. But after this week, no, they need to learn." "What happens now?" I asked. "Now," Sterling said, checking his watch, "we drink the good scotch." "And you take a vacation, a real one." I looked at my phone. Mason had texted me. "They are fighting in the car. Dad is crying. Mom is screaming at Dad. I think they are going to drive back to Chicago tonight. Can I stay with you?" I showed the text to Ben. "Let the kids stay," Ben said. "He's the only innocent one." I texted Mason back. "Pack a bag, meet me at the gate in 10 minutes. Don't tell them." 10 minutes later, Mason ran up the driveway. He looked shell-shocked. We took him in, fed him steak, and let him play video games on the theater screen. He was just a kid caught in the crossfire, and I wasn't going to let him become collateral damage like I was. That night, I sat by the fire with Ben and Sarah. "You know," I said, "I always thought if I stood up to them, I'd die." "I thought the guilt would kill me." "And?" Sarah asked. "I'm still alive," I smiled. "You're more than alive," Ben said. "You're free." We spent the next 4 days in Aspen living like royalty. We skied, we ate, we laughed. I didn't think about my parents once, except when my lawyer sent me updates on the repayment plan they were frantically trying to assemble. Before we move to the final confrontation, I just want to say, you guys are amazing. If you've stuck with me this far, you are a persistent, wonderful person. Please hit that like button and comment the number 1 below so I know you're riding shotgun with me on this revenge tour. Your support fuels me. I thought it was over, but narcissists never go down without one last flail. 2 days later, on our last night, the gate buzzer rang again. It was just Dad, alone. "Holly," he said, "please, just 5 minutes. Man to woman, father to daughter." I looked at Ben. He nodded. "I'll be right here." I walked out to the gate. It was snowing lightly. Dad looked old. He looked smaller than I remembered. "Here," he said, handing me a check. It was for $5,000. "It's all I could scrape together right now," he said. "I sold the Rolex, and I borrowed some from a friend." I took the check. "It's a start." "Holly," he said, his voice trembling, "we made mistakes. I know that. But taking the house, that's cruel. That's your childhood home." "It's a building, Dad. A building you leveraged to fund a lie. I was trying to keep the family happy," he shouted, a flash of the old anger returning. "You don't understand the pressure. Kyle, he needs help. He's not strong like you." "So you punished the strong child to save the weak one?" I asked. He stopped. He looked at me. Really looked at me. "You didn't need us," he said softly. "You never needed us. You were always self-sufficient. Kyle needed us." "I needed love, Dad. Not money. Love. We loved you." "No, you loved what I could do for you." I tore the check in half. "Keep your money," I said. "Use it to move, because Ben isn't bluffing. You have 30 days to vacate." "Holly!" "Goodbye, Dad." I turned and walked back up the driveway. I didn't look back. I heard him calling my name, but the wind swallowed the sound. When I got inside, I felt a pang of sadness. It was the final severing of the cord. But then I saw Mason playing Mario Kart with Mia, laughing. I saw Aunt Sarah knitting by the fire. I saw Ben pouring tea. I realized I hadn't lost a family. I had just pruned a dead branch so the rest of the tree could survive. The legal aftermath was swift and brutal. With Sterling's legal team backing me and Ben's ownership of the debt, my parents had no leverage. They sold the house to avoid foreclosure. Ben graciously allowed them to sell it on the market rather than seizing it, so they could keep any equity left over. There was almost none. After paying off the mortgage, to Ben, and the other debts, they walked away with about $10,000. They moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment in a less desirable part of town. Kyle and Jessica had to move in with them because they couldn't afford rent on their own. I heard through the grapevine that it was a nightmare. 4 bitter adults and a dog in 900 square feet. Mason? He asked to live with me. It was a big decision, but I had the space, I had the means, and I saw myself in him, the quiet, observant kid who just wanted a chance. I petitioned for guardianship. Given the instability of his home life and the fact that I was a stable, wealthy relative, and crucially, Mason was 15 and could choose, the judge granted it. Kyle didn't even fight it. He said, "One less mouth to feed." That broke my heart for Mason, but it confirmed I made the right choice. The receipts folder on my computer was finally closed. I didn't need it anymore. The truth was out. Everyone knew. Ben took the money from the house payoff and put it into a trust fund for Mason. For college, he told me, so he doesn't have to rely on them. I got my $25,000 back, eventually. Not from my parents, but from the airline. It turns out when you provide proof of fraud and unauthorized use of funds, coupled with a police report, which I filed, you can sometimes get a refund. It took months, but I got it. I donated it all to a heart health charity. In Mom's name. I thought that was a poetic touch. Kyle tried to start a GoFundMe for his unjust eviction. I reported it for fraud. It was taken down in 24 hours. Jessica tried to get a job at a rival real estate firm. Mr. Sterling made one phone call. "Just checking references," he said. She didn't get the job. They were learning, slowly and painfully, that actions have consequences, that you can't gaslight your way out of math. 6 months later, I received a letter. It was a wedding invitation, a cousin on my dad's side. I knew my parents would be there. I debated not going. But then I looked at my new life. I had Mason, who was getting straight A's and actually smiling. I had Ben and Sarah. I had a boyfriend, a lawyer I met through Davis, who thought my receipts folder was hot. I decided to go. I walked into the reception hall wearing a red dress. Not white, not black, red, bold, alive. My parents were at a table in the back near the kitchen. They looked tired. Mom's hair wasn't done. Dad's suit was ill-fitting. They saw me. They didn't wave. They looked down at their plates. I didn't go over to them. I didn't make a scene. I danced with Mason. I laughed with my cousins. At one point, I went to the bar to get a drink. Mom sidled up to me. "Holly," she hissed, "are you happy? Look at us. We're miserable." "I am happy, Mom," I said honestly. "How can you sleep at night?" "On 800 thread count sheets in a condo I own," I said, with a clear conscience. She stared at me with pure venom. "You were always a cold bitch." "No, Mom," I said, leaning in. "I was a warm, loving daughter. You're the one who turned off the heat." I walked away, and for the first time, I didn't feel the need to look back to see if she was watching. I knew she was, and I knew she was seeing exactly what she had thrown away. It's been a year since Aspen. My life is unrecognizable. I was promoted to senior VP at Sterling Real Estate. Artie said as he likes my killer instinct. Mason is thriving. He's on the debate team. He learned from the best. He visits his parents occasionally, but he calls my place home. Uncle Ben and Aunt Sarah are my rocks. We do Sunday dinner every week. No drama, just food and laughter. I haven't spoken to Kyle or my parents since the wedding. I blocked their numbers. I blocked their emails. Sometimes I miss the idea of them. I miss the fantasy of the family I wanted them to be, but I don't miss the reality of who they were. I learned that family isn't blood. Blood is just biology. Family is behavior. Family is showing up. Family is not leaving you behind on Christmas. If you are listening to this, and you are the Holly of your family, the provider, the fixer, the one who is always left out but expected to pay up, please listen to me. Stop. Stop paying. Stop fixing. Stop waiting for them to change. They won't. Take your money, take your energy, and invest it in yourself. Buy the ticket. Take the trip. Build your own villa on the hill. Because you deserve a seat at the table. And if they won't give you one, build your own table. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I am truly grateful for you. Please comment the letter A below so I know you are one of the special ones who listened all the way to the end. If you have any feelings or similar stories, write them down. I read every comment. And please, click on the next video on the channel to hear more stories like this.